Hello my friends, it's Collrane or Collrane Tarot here on YouTube. My pronouns are they, them, and we are going to dive right into a spirit guide reading, which is going to hopefully assist you in connecting with your spirit guides. At the time that I'm filming this is right after Samhain or Halloween, All Hallows Eve, whatever you prefer to call it. Or Dia de los Muertos also just passed. So there's a couple holidays that have just happened. I actually made a video about how those holidays are impacting you. Since we're still close to that at the time that you're seeing this, if it's close to the time that I posted, I recommend you maybe go check that video out. But otherwise, I want to just, take a moment during this time to connect in with the guides that are walking with us, since we can contact them a little bit better right now. So if you are in the right headspace and you've already chosen the pile that you need, and you're feeling drawn to it, go ahead and click on the timestamps in the description that correspond with the pile. This is pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. You can probably figure that out. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to jump into the first reading. So I will see you at your pile. Hi Pile 1, if you selected this first card, we are going to dive into your reading. So this is the Mindscapes Tarot by John Rice. So we are going to look at kind of the anchor of the energy of your spirit guides, so how they have held you in place and kind of what environments or spaces they like to connect with you through. So this card, being from the Mindscapes Tarot, it represents maybe a landscape or an environment that your spirit guide wants to represent their ability to connect with you through. And so, you got the Mindscapes actual signifying card, so that's very interesting. Your spirit guides are kind of funny. This guide, I feel like I see them almost as like a, how do I describe this? Like 3 or 4 trails of almost like chains of energy. I don't know how to describe it. Like it looks like a sunburst almost coming from one point and then trailing down. This guide is quite quiet, but they have a sense of humor. And I feel like this guide has not been with you for very long, or you're not super aware of them, even if you do connect with spirit guides. I feel like quite a few of you are pretty new to exploring your spiritual guidance as well. But let's get a card for the actual anchor. Please, spirit guide or collective of spirit guides that is representing the spirit guide archetype for pile 1, as this is a general reading. I'd like to know how you hold pile 1 in a space, and we have a card coming out, and it is the Sun. So we see here in this card depicted a nice little garden space. There's a little fence. There's a figure. Yeah, there's 2 figures kind of down this road. And I don't know if you can see all that well because my lighting isn't working with me today. I'm relying on natural light and it's gotten a little cloudy. But anyway, there's something about, yeah, it's interesting because the sun on this card actually is a little bit obscured, or there's some clouds or some misty energy that's going on with that sun. And I'm seeing this as almost like your guides, or this guide, sorry, comes to you when you're in a space of fog, like you're trying to find some direction, excuse me. I feel like this guide comes to you when you need words to speak, or you need some kind of like verbal meditation. So they'll bring you the words of specifically like passed on like thinkers. So this guide may have kind of an ancient quality to them in terms of the earth. So this guide will bring you things that already exist, but they seem to be very misplaced from the society or the time period that you're within right now. It's interesting because I'm noticing that this guide also wants to really highlight the abundance and the small details that are going on in this card. They want to bring you closer to those, like paying attention to what's around you. I think this guide works better with you when you've like slowed down and found gratitude even in a confusing space. And I think that's how they want you to be able to call them in. And that's very interesting. So if you're feeling confused, you can imagine almost this like spirit guide coming towards you and do some kind of meditation to just hold space with them. I think that that's all they really want from you, is to bring more joy, like the vibration of joy into your life when you're feeling a little confused or chaotic. And I feel like this guide has come to specifically hold you in a space of comfort during a really tumultuous or chaotic time in your life. Because when I saw that the image of the guide being like these streaks that kind of come down from a single point, I saw it in a darker form. And not to say that this is a dark guide. I don't set the intention that, you know, guides that have misintent or malintent will come forward. So this guide I do get a very like presence from. And in terms of spirit, when we're talking about a darker energy, it doesn't always mean something like harmful. I think that the dark has been misinterpreted in spiritual circles, because I think that there are experiences of the dark where we find comfort and we find rest and peace in dark spaces, and it just depends on the actual like emotional vibrational energy and that feeling that we get experiencing if the dark is something that is comforting, protective, peaceful, versus something that has come to deceive us or put us in fear. And so I feel like this guide is actually kind of a shadow worker, in the sense that which is funny because they will find you in the sun, which is this space of light or illumination. But they're a shadow worker because they show up to juxtapose, to give contrast, to give depth to those places that already feel light. So I want to kind of clarify why they're here. Let's get one more. It's this card. Yeah, we'll keep this in reverse. So we have the Ten of Wands and the Seven of Swords, and this is a very interesting energy. And I think that's why this guide is coming through as a shadow worker for you. Excuse me. Because I feel like this guide is really getting you to find the truth of some kind of a situation, with the Seven of Swords there and the spider spirit coming through, the spider and the beaver. I'm using actually the Oriens Animal Tarot by Ambi Sun. And I'm seeing these as animal guides that are connected to this spirit guide, because our spirit guides often cannot always appear to us in their, in their language or in their form, and so they will often bring us tokens, I guess, of the Earth's language to convey to us how they're trying to connect in with our like earthen soul, if that makes sense, or the self that is within this earthly lifetime. And so with the spider and the beaver, I feel like what I'm getting from this is a big protective energy, because of, we think of home as something that's connected, or really closely tied to the way that we view these two animals. Both of them are very much characterized by the homes that they build with the web and the dam, as well as I'm seeing this as work, very work focused. So there's something either within your work life or home life, or the meeting of the two, an energy that maybe you're taking from one and kind of dispersing into the other, or maybe you work from home. There's something about also providing that's there. And I feel like this guide wants to give you what you're potentially having to give to others. So if you are having to be a protector or an advocate, or, bring a lot of things together with both of these kind of being animals that bring complex situations together, this guide wants to really help you feel protected spiritually as you kind of traverse these more confusing and uncertain waters, if that makes sense. There's something about this guide that is like rational and calm and collected. Their energy is quite like they'll sit with you through something really difficult, whereas some spirit guides kind of step off if you almost push them away, or you are sitting in a space and not listening to the advice that they're giving to you, or you're just not receptive to it. This guide is a little bit more persistent, and they want you to know that they're going to really try their hardest to make their presence known to you, and especially give you a really strong gut feeling when they're around you. There's something about the stomach or the gut that is very much connected to this guide, and I feel like they want to strengthen your gut feeling, especially about making agreements or contracts with others. This guide is they want to bring forward your instincts and get you to do something that goes against your better judgment. And I think that's why this guide has such a strong rational energy about them, because they want to help to rationalize these intuitive promptings that they're trying to guide you through. And especially like kind of get you to move past blockages as well, is something else that I'm seeing here in these two cards. There's something about the obstruction or the obscuring that keeps being brought up that they want you to move through. So let's get a card from the Dream Interpretation Oracle cards. I don't know who the artist is or author for these cards. I do know that they are published by the company Scarabo. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but yeah, I'll have the information for all the decks in the description. But I want to get a symbol that this guide wants to present to you as an intuitive prompting for you. We have fruits, card 2. The first thing that I'm seeing in this card is the Tower. There's something about the sunflowers have come up again, but they are more wilted or withered. And so it seems like some of you, I feel like maybe don't resonate with the idea of an inner child, or it's really difficult for you to access that concept for yourself. And I think that this guide wants to tell you that that's okay. You don't have to resonate with every like concept that comes your way. And I think for some of you, it feels really painful to access your youth, or the memories associated with it. And even if you are pretty young, because I feel like a couple, or a good majority of this pile actually is going to be younger people, I feel like if you're trying to move past or understand how your youth plays into who you are today, and it's something that is really difficult for you to actually reflect on, I think this guide wants to come through to remind you that you don't have to relive your memories in order to understand them. I think that this guide wants to show you that through the structures that you're working through at the moment, the ways that Spirit has aligned a lot of your reality at this current time, is something that is meant to help you to work through those energies without having to re-immerse yourself in something really painful potentially. Because I think a lot of modern psychology or even modern spiritual practices that have to do with self-reflection and, you know, the inner child, quote unquote, I think that some of them are a little not trauma informed when we're talking about revisiting like potentially painful or trapping experiences such as those that we experience in childhood. And so I think that there is kind of a repeated message that this guide is maybe trying to emphasize for me that I maybe missed within this Sun card. That this guide potentially has been with you since childhood, first of all, and so second of all, they're going to understand that what you went through is something that you don't want to relive. And so I think if you've been trying to do inner child work and it's just not working for you, this is maybe a confirmation that that's maybe not where your focus should be right now, and your focus actually is better spent on the areas or the problems that you're actually experiencing in the now, because they're going to help you actually work through what you've gone through in the past. Okay, I want to get a little love message from your guide to you using the Lover's Oracle. And who is the author for this? Toni, Carmine, Salerno? I'm not sure if I said that quite right, but the card that was on the top is actually what they wanted to say to you. And there's going to be maybe an intuitive message within this card for you. So I want to give you a moment to look at it. Okay. And I'm actually being prompted by this guide at this moment to remind you to breathe, remind you to connect in with yourself right now and check in with how you're feeling, how everything has been landing for you. Maybe get you to recognize the emotional charge that's going on in your body or in your reality at the moment. Okay. So what it says on the back of this card, this dove card, is new beginning. A new adventure awaits. Embrace it and live your dreams passionately. And I definitely feel that from especially the anchor card being the sun for this guide. There's something about this guide really wanting you to, again, reground yourself in the present so that you are able to really authentically and like completely show up for yourself for this next chapter and not get any of your self tied up with your past self. I think that you really need to like release yourself from the burden of your past, if that makes sense. Not to say that your past is entirely a burden, but it feels like there's some element of the past obscuring your future or obscuring your view on the future. And so I think that what this card is kind of showing to me as a reader is that there's a chance for peace if you allow this guide to really pull you through that shadow work that's happening for you in order for you to really recognize the full scope of the light that is surrounding you. Because there's something again about this guide playing with the dark and the light and using them both. I feel like there's some aspect of you that maybe focused a lot on one or the other in the past, and you're trying to really, like, your spirit is trying to pull yourself into a place of balance in the future. I want to close this reading with a final affirmation from your spirit guide. And they said, I love being me and discover with curiosity. I'll repeat it. I love being me and discover with curiosity. And this deck is actually a deck that I made. It's not for sale or published. But yeah, I just like to use it because it has good affirmations that I put in it. So I feel like this card is actually maybe prompting you to get in touch with your creative side or do something creative. And I feel like for a lot of this pile, I'm not getting the sense that you exercise your creative abilities all that much. If you do, you know, it's a general reading, so you know, fit your message to be how it's supposed to be for you. But I'm just getting the sense that a lot of you maybe don't see yourselves as very creative, or you do it every once in a while, but it's not something that is really like a consistent practice for you, and that's all right. Everybody has their own, abilities and comfort levels, but I feel like this card is reminding me to give you the reminder, I guess, that your creative self is a very like organic and spiritually informed version of you, and a part of you that can really do that shadow work and lay out some of those harder emotions or more difficult emotions with a sense of ease. And I think it will also help you if you have a very distracted mind at this time, because I am getting the sense that quite a few of you have some distracting thoughts or chatter going on, and so this guide really wants you to pull back into that place of gratitude again, bringing it back to that first message, that this guide can contact you more when you're in a space of receptivity, and when we're in a space of gratitude, we are focusing on what we've received. And so I feel like there's a message here about bringing yourself back to that place of curiosity, where instead of analyzing, we are, curious and excited and looking at things with an open heart and an open mind, especially when we're approaching ourselves. So I'm so proud of you, Pile 1. I was really, really honored to be your reader today and to deliver this message to you, and also to channel your spirit guide, or the collective that represents your spirit guides for each and every one of you. I will see you in another video. All of my information is in the description box below, and I'm sending you so much love. Bye, Pile 1. Hello, Pile 2. If you selected this second pile, or card, I guess, from the Mindscapes Tarot by John Rice, this is your spirit guide connection reading. So what we are going to do first is turn over this card and see the anchor that this guide holds for you. And so what I mean by an anchor here is representing the space that this guide prefers to enter into, the environment in which this guide creates, potentially, like energetically, but also this can represent a space or place that you go to or spend time in, that this guide can really connect with you deeper when you are in that space. So this is going to be different for each of you. So allow for your intuitive mind and your heart to be open, to communicate with you, for your memories to be sparked, to give you that understanding of exactly where or how this guide is connecting with you. And just open your mind, open your space right now to allow this guide to come in and feel their presence. So the first thing I saw for this guide, actually, before I turn this card over, was that they almost have like it's kind of almost like an evil eye orb that they like use as kind of like a symbol for themselves, and then slowly, like from around that orb, there was like the shape of like a cat head. And so I feel like this guide is very connected to cats. If you have a cat, or maybe even like a neighborhood cat that comes near your house, or if you're like, you know, traveling and you see a cat, there's something about cats that this guide really wants to bring forward to you. This could also, for some of you, be a cat that you visit, or this guide is like in the aura of the cat, if that makes sense. So it's maybe not the cat itself, it's just this energy, this guide is connected to that. So we have the High Priestess. Interesting energy to be connected to that. And actually the first thing I notice about this is this eye that's above the opening to the tent, or at least it looks like an eye to me. I hope that you can see that. But yeah, there's something about this energy here where this guide contacts you in a private environment. So this guide is not going to come to you when you are around any other person's energy. And I think it's because this guide has a very strong and like super lively energy, that it maybe lively is not the right word, but it's a very like heightened level of energy that must be held within a space. So this guide is not going to reside in your space like all the time. So even if this guide is connected or channels through the energy of, like, let's say you do have a cat, they're going to come through at very specific times, and you will notice, because you're like, if let's say this does come through your animal, sorry, because this is not going to apply to everybody since this is a general reading, but you will know that this guide is present because your cat will behave a certain way. They'll get more energetic, I believe. And this guide has like very strong like positive intention towards you, but they want to honestly like be kind of a light bearer to you, with the moon here and this very like deep dark kind of murky surrounding to the environment. I feel like when you're in a time of like extreme contemplation, that's kind of the only word that's coming through, this guide really wants to surround you in some kind of consciousness or some kind of awareness, especially about things that you need to do physically to help move energy. So this guide is almost like a transmuter and helper for you, if that makes sense. So this guide is going to physically interrupt your like thought process or your awareness or your cognition, and give you a little like boop insight, and it's usually when you're alone. Very rarely this guide might come through while you're with people that, you know, maybe you live with, or people that you spend a really like lot of time with that are maybe more spiritual connections for you. But in the most, like, generally, this guide is really only going to come to you when you're alone. And I think it's because this guide, they are so, like, they have such a potent energy. If they come to you while you're around, like, let's say while you're out in public, they're going to energetically, like, rub off on a lot of people that they don't have contracts with. Because I do believe our spirit guides, we have some kind of agreement with. If it's not a contract, it's more of just, like, something that we've, you know, made some kind of like friendship bond with, I guess. And so, you know, it's like the idea that you're not going to behave the same way with a partner or a friend while you're out in public that you would when you're, you know, just hanging out in a private space with them. And so I feel like this guide is kind of like very private, if that makes sense. So let's get a little bit more of an in-depth look at what this guide is really like here for, how they kind of want to present maybe a situation in your life to you right now. And I'm using the Oriens Animal Tarot. This guide will also give you a lot of downloads at one time, so they'll kind of give you a lot of insight all at once. Even watching this reading right now, you may feel like kind of overstimulated with having a lot of kind of dots connecting, or you're just feeling very like spiritually open, because I feel like this guide is very highly connected to your crown and third eye chakras. If that's, you know, something that you resonate with in terms of energy centers. Otherwise, it's just more like this guide is connected to your mind and your vision, basically how you perceive and interpret things. So here we have the Five of Cups with crickets, and then we have the Strength card in reverse with an elk, I believe. This may be just a buck, like a deer. So I'm using this deck to kind of describe the ways that the guide who has come forth maybe connects to you through the spirits that already exist within the earth plane. And so what better way to do this than through animals? Because a lot of guides, they can't exactly, you know, always, you know, not everybody doesn't have like clairvoyance in the way that certain guides do. Like I know that I have clairvoyance because I described this guide's kind of appearance to you, but not everybody has that, and that's okay. And so I think sometimes our guides will come to us through other visual images that are supposed to grab our attention, and I think that one that this guide wants to give you is the cricket, and less especially the deer, but I think that the cricket is a very strong one. And so this guide is actually pointing me in a direction that I was kind of picking up on, but not fully expressing before from this High Priestess card. But there's something about some really strong emotions. A lot of you may have just been through some kind of like breakup, or maybe moving, having a fight with a family member. There's some kind of I feel like it has to do with an awakening or a different awareness of something. There's some kind of information that was potentially revealed to you, and this guide has kind of stepped in to help your emotional well-being in the wake of that. I feel like some of you may have a very pessimistic outlook on life at the moment. There's something about this guide wanting you to feel more comforted in the silence, or in the, you know, when the dust has settled. Because this guide, I think that's why they have such a high energy, because they really want to help you to remember that there is some mystical qualities to these denser or more difficult experiences that we go through, especially emotionally. And so this guide really wants you to know that no matter what other people think about you, you are still valuable, you are still beautiful, and you are still so worthy of love and affection, and, you know, having your dreams fulfilled and getting what you want in life, or, you know, fulfilling your desires. And I think that a lot of you may have pushed your desires aside recently, and I think that this guide wants to bring you back to seeing, you know, the beauty in wanting something or having motivation to go after something. Because I think a lot of times our desires are actually, you know, motivation that is masked in this draw, in this spiritual pull to do something or go after something. And so I think that this guide really wants to almost like replug you into that spiritual grid that you may have like pulled yourself out of in a moment of despair. I feel like there's going to be a very specific moment that comes to mind for a lot of you surrounding that moment of withdrawal. because this guide really wants to realign you to this strength energy and remind you of how strong you have been. And I'm being called to these acorns that are kind of in this wreath around the elk or the buck or the deer here. Because acorns represent, for some reason I've always connected them to lightning, and I'm being drawn back to that association. So there's something about, I think it's like the oak tree can withstand being struck by lightning or something, or they're connected to the idea of a storm. And so I think that there's like some kind of storm that has happened in your life, especially with this water energy coming forward. There's some kind of like big chaotic emotional wave that's happened in some ways, and this guide really wants you to see that there is actually very significant spiritual awakening that is happening alongside this experience that is going to really push you forward and give you a sense of enthusiasm for some kind of maybe being an advocate about something, or even like advocating for yourself more because of this. There's something around that where it's going to light your fire in a way, which is very interesting. So I actually am being called to read from the guidebook. So this is the Oriens Animal Tarot, these ones by Ambi Sun, and so I'm going to read from the guidebook just for the 5 of Cups, because I feel like that cricket energy is really, really strong with this guide. And they may actually bring you like the sounds of crickets to calm your nerves, help to get you back into a place of tranquility, understanding, and acceptance. So we have, oh, they're actually locusts, not crickets. So maybe look into the spiritual significance of crickets if that's something that really resonates with you. But the locusts are actually related to grasshoppers. They are commonly associated with plagues and famines. Locusts have been known to emerge in enormous swarms and feast on fields of crops, causing astronomical damage to the agricultural industry. So that's very interesting. And this card represents loss, remorse, and disappointment. So there's something about your past choices kind of causing lingering guilt that's being brought up in that description of the card. There's something about disruption that's happening as well. And I think I'm going to go on my initial interpretation of that being crickets, because I feel like it resonates more with the message of this guide, and they're kind of prompting me to be like, hey, I had you interpret it this way for a reason. So it's maybe, again, seeing something that's potentially destructive, like a locust, and actually viewing it through a different lens and seeing it as something that is like bringing luck. I'm actually bringing up a story in my own mind about, it's a Taoist story where a man loses his wife, and this is actually a different story, sorry. So there's a man who has a son, and his son gets drafted into a war, and he's devastated, of course, because this is his only son. He doesn't have any other children, and he wants somebody to, take on his farm when he passes on, because he knows that he's getting older. And if his son isn't around to do that, his, family's legacy may be forgotten. And his son goes off to the war, and he, is pretty upset about that. And then he later gets a message from his son saying, like, the war is okay. I'm doing well, like I'm in a protected, group in the military. And he's like, oh, thank heavens, like this is such good news. And I'm struggling to remember this story, but then later he ends up getting news that because his son was in that like protected group or whatever, he ends up dying. Even though he thought that he was, better off, he actually ends up being killed, and of course he is devastated by this. And after that, a couple like days or weeks pass, and he has a horse show up, and the horse is actually like kind of a payment for the son's death. And the horse actually allows them to, do more work and get stuff done so that they don't, starve during the winter. And so that's a blessing. And then later, like, I think the horse runs away or something, but it's kind of a story that goes back and forth and back and forth, and it's supposed to show the principles of yin and yang, that there is the bad in the good and the good in the bad, and each kind of, time that his life shifts back and forth, there's something of the other blessing or the other, disappointment that is contained within the experience that happened prior to that. And in the end of the story, basically, I think I mistold the story a little bit, but basically the point is that the man kind of realizes that each experience he went through was super necessary and important for his life. And I just think that that's kind of maybe something that's coming through here. So I want to see a symbol that this guide uses to communicate with you. This is from the Dreamscapes Tarot. It's published by Scarabo, but I'm not sure the artist. And this says fighting. So it's interesting because I'm drawn initially to the hand here that's holding a ring, rather than the person in the foreground who is kind of on guard or battling. And it almost seems like there's no need to fight, is kind of what's coming through with this guide, is that if you keep fighting the inevitable or fighting what you are supposed to be experiencing by being on the defensive, you're going to end up missing what's being offered to you by spirit. And sometimes it's really difficult for us to actually be receptive to that when we're in a space of, feeling really dejected or having been through something that's quite abusive or traumatic. And so I don't want to, discredit any of those experiences that you've been through, or say that, everything's sunshine and roses and that we need to be grateful for everything, because sometimes being grateful for situations that have really hurt us almost feels like we are betraying ourselves. And I don't want you to do that at all. I think what this guide is saying is that they don't want you to fight the emotions that are coming up with it, because those are the things that are going to give you the actual blessing in the long run. And so it's saying, like, the blessing maybe isn't here right now, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep going and keep looking towards and searching. Having that open heart that says, where is the good in this? Is there anything to be gained from this? And asking those questions rather than making a judgment about something can bring us into a space of being more kind to ourselves and also kind to the world around us as well. So I want to get a little love message kind of from your guide, and they're just throwing cards at me. But I believe that this card that just fell is for you. So I want to give you a moment to look at this and kind of pick up intuitively on what this is telling you about your experience. Sorry, I was checking on the camera a little. Okay, and this card says, a message for you. I'm thinking of you this very moment. Your love fills me with light. I love you. So for some of you, this guide is actually someone that you knew, that's a passed on loved one. Maybe they were very connected to cats or crickets or deer. Those animals may be strong symbols of them, or they were somebody that maybe was in the war, or not in the war, in a war. They were maybe someone who fought a lot of battles in their life or struggled with a lot of challenges. And if that isn't resonating and you don't feel like it's someone that you knew that's passed on, I think that this guide just wants to remind you that they have so much love for you, whether it's from this lifetime or another. And there's something so beautiful that they're seeing kind of being activated within you. And I feel like these light rays are coming through. Again, like I said, this guide is a transmuter of some kind, And so it feels like they are sending in these like codes of wisdom, you know, trying to penetrate your etheric body, your spiritual body with these, you know, wisdom, with this remembrance of who you are, what your spirit has to offer, and sending away all these other like energies that you've temporarily taken on as a byproduct of the experiences that you've been going through, and that maybe no longer serve you anymore, even though they did at one time. So there's something about this guide really taking that energy and using it for a different purpose, and allowing it to become something that is really strong communicator. I feel like a lot of you are going to actually take a lot of these experiences and use them as strength later. You just don't see that right now. Yeah. So finally, I want to get you a little affirmation. And they're just throwing themselves out of this deck. And I think that these are supposed to be here. So we have 3. I am process oriented. Your healing is your first priority, and I am divinely protected. I feel like I can't say anything better than those 3, because I think that this guide really wants you to know that you are not vulnerable for no reason, and that you haven't, you know, ever been completely alone, that there has always been something that's looking out for you, and they just want you to know that. It's time to focus on your healing and see that it is a process and not something that is linear where you're going to just, you know, wake up one day and be healed. So I want to send so much gratitude to your guide right now for coming through and allowing me to channel what they needed to say to you. I want to thank you so much for being dedicated to your healing journey and for showing up to this reading today. I am so grateful to every other force in the universe that I have not recognized that has brought us together for this reading today. Otherwise, I will see you in another video, my friend. All of my information is down below, and I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. Sending you so much love. Bye. Hello, Pile 3. If you selected this third group or this card from the Mindscapes Tarot by John Rice, this is your Spirit Guide Connection reading. So we are going to turn this card over and get a look at what your Spirit Guide wants to show to you as an anchor. And the way that I see this anchor card is, because this is the Mindscapes Tarot, which is focused on landscapes, I want to set the intention that this is bringing to us a space, an environment, an energetic environment that this guide really likes to connect with you on, or within. And if this, you know, environment has any specific resonance with you, this maybe represents a place where this guide shows up to you, or maybe a place that you shared. For this guide, I am definitely feeling that this is a passed on person that you knew, someone that you loved, someone who has decided to stay in a spiritual energy, to surround you for a certain portion of your life, to provide you some guidance. So they've almost postponed their transcendence in some way. They have, I feel, stepped into a place of like peace, comfort, recognition of a lot of the things in their life that went wrong or things that they would have done better. I feel like this spirit, or the collective that is representing these spirits that are walking with each and every one of you, as this is a general reading, this energy is filled with some remorse, some kind of regret for something that they did. And I feel like it's, for a lot of them, it's not something that they directly did to you. It's something that they chose, maybe instead of something that would have been more beneficial for both of you. So there's something about this guide wanting to right the neglect that happened, if that makes sense. And it's not like an intentional neglect, it's just something that was a byproduct of other things that were going on in their life, and they want to step through and heal a lot of that maybe abandonment trauma that's going on for you, or some kind of feeling of being out of control that may have been taken on by you because of this person's passing, or something like that. So it's going to be different for each of you, but wow, they're coming through as the great work, and they want you to know. I'm getting so many chills right now as this guide steps through, because if you'll see down here, the North Node is represented on this card, and what a beautiful card that we're looking at. So this is representing a mountain scene in a city. I feel like this guide really connects to you maybe through heights. Maybe you went to some kind of like viewpoints with this person while they were alive, or you maybe went on ski trips. For some of you, there's something about, the snow or the cold or winter. You may have spent a lot of Christmas times with this person, or Hanukkah time. I don't want to leave out anybody's religious holidays around that time, because Yule is a very family-centered, holiday-focused time. But anyway, this person really wants to step through here and just remind you that they're with you in this moment, that they've chosen this time to really spend with you, because it's really difficult sometimes for our human guides to kind of get through to us pretty often, or as often as they would like to, because they know how to communicate with us, and they know how to really, touch us deeply and send us those signs that really resonate with us and impact our emotional selves. But they don't want to do so all that often, so that they're not leaving us with a lot of grief over and over. They want us to kind of work through that. And I see this guide as wanting you to feel that they're with you through the great work. And I'm seeing this as more of a metaphorical card, and this is one of the only cards that's not really anchored into a specific tarot archetype. It's giving us that idea of continuation, of something that we show up for each day. And so I feel like this guide is really wanting to tell you that they would be with you every day if they could. They really want to make their presence known to you continuously, and I think that that's really beautiful. But they're prompting me to move on to the Animal Tarot, the Oriens Animal Tarot by Ambi Sun. We're going to get some animal spirits that they feel they want to come to you through. What a beautiful energy. You have some blue jays with the Two of Wands. Can I get a second card, please? Thank you. We have a manta ray, so 5 of Swords. Beautiful. And I just noticed that the bottom of the deck here has the High Priestess, which is a wolf. I almost feel tempted to pull this card out and put it over here too, because I just feel like it's so significant for this guide. So this guide wants to help you find success. Most importantly, I feel like there are some things that a lot of these, a lot of the spirits that are represented in this collective spirit guide reading are people that did not get to fulfill some kind of dream in their life. There's something about them not being able to get something across. Like, they couldn't get the point across, if that makes sense. They may have been very passionate about something, but they either got distracted or gave up on their dreams. And so a lot of them maybe died early, or if they did die later in life, there was something that they had to put aside for, you know, what they felt like was the greater good. But looking back, and they do feel, again, that regret, that remorse for not, you know, going after what they wanted. And I feel like they see this potential within you, and it's not pressure. They just want you to do something that makes you feel fulfilled, if that makes sense. There's something about wanting to provide you with a space for success. And I think that's why this environment card is so big and so intense, of like the great work. They want you to do what you feel like is the great work. And I feel very emotional because I'm looking at the Five of Swords that I've decided to pair this card with, and it looks like there's almost like mittens or hands that are reaching in through this energy of the manta ray to, you know, present or give you some kind of spiritual energy that allows you to move forward or have the ideas that you need to present this in the way that you're supposed to. This guide really wants you to move past those difficult moments, and I feel like they really want you to do some kind of ritual that is going to help you to energetically release any kind of pain or resentment or anger that you hold towards either them or another person within your life. If you're having someone come to mind right now, I feel like you're holding on to a lot of energy that has to do with this person, that is actually blocking you from learning the lessons that you need to learn and moving forward spiritually. And so the other card here being the Two of Wands and having the Blue Jay, I feel like they're highlighting their own ambiguous nature, and they see it in you, and they want you to be able to move into the more aligned version of this energy and not feel so blocked by your own anxiety or anger. There's something about like being combative that is coming through with that Blue Jay. They want you to use your craftiness, but not necessarily be so quick to get frustrated about it. I think that also for some of you there's a sense of like a lack mindset, so you feel like you have to fight others to get to the top, like the idea of competition, like, you know, if I block other people from getting to where I want to go, then there will be more room for me. And I think that this guide is kind of wanting to come in and correct that, if that is an idea that you have or a belief that you hold. Not all of you, obviously, since this is general, but that's coming through, especially with that Five of Swords there, that idea of competition. So let's get a symbol that this guide has been wanting to bring to you. Music. This guide comes to you through music quite a bit. There's symbolic messages within the music that you find. If you have people who send you music, this may have to do with a subconscious belief that they have about you, as well as this guide wanting to provide you with a song that you wouldn't normally find. So, you know, discern which that is. As well as if you hear music in a randomized way, shufflemancy might be something that is a really great way to connect with this guide if you feel like you need their assistance or you need their help or you just need their loving presence. There is a way to, you know, call on them using music, and they wanted to bring that to you as well. So, yeah, this guide is very loyal to you. They're going to stick with you for as long as they can. For as long as Spirit allows for them to stay in a familiar energy to you. So let's get a little love message from this guide to you. And we have this card. So I want you to look at it for a moment. See what you can tell about this. If there's anything that comes forward to you in the imagery in this card. And I'll read it to you. Let there be closeness between you, but always give each other space. Love never claims, it simply allows and gives. This person is saying, or person, I guess spirit, sorry, they, even if they could come through and, stop you from doing something or tell you what to do, I don't think that they would at this point, because of what they've realized about their own life and the ways that free will works as well. I think this guide just wants you to know that they love you, even if you feel like you're making mistakes, that they're here for you when you need it, but they don't want you to rely on them to make your decisions. They want you to feel like you've accomplished something by the choices that you've made in your life. And I think that there's something really beautiful about that. And I think I'm going to leave it there. So let's get a final message from your guide. And he gave quite a few affirmations. This is from a deck that I created. So we have, I am an important part of my social network. I am rooted in gratitude. And I am expanding through vulnerability. So I'm expanding through vulnerability reminds me that this guide really wants you to, go the distance, take that leap, do something to, practice being more vulnerable, practice chasing your dreams, practice doing something that is unconventional or something that really aligns with what you love. And I just think that they see so much potential coming forth from you, especially with this kind of third eye being activated from this one figure. I feel like this maybe represents you, and this represents, your guide coming through to you. But there's something about this love that they have for you that wants to see you expand into your full potential. And if a lot of you are actually thinking about, going after something, this is maybe a confirmation that that idea or that insight is something that they really believe in. I am an important part of my social network reminds me that you still have so many living people or living beings around you that have a need for you, that want you to continue pouring into them, that want you to invest in them. I feel like maybe you are somebody who's almost like the life of the party. You're somebody who a lot of others find a lot of comfort in, and so it's important for you to remember how you contribute in the same way that this guide is contributing to you. I'm rooted in gratitude reminds me that gratitude is always going to be a space that allows for you to find comfort in moments of grief, because I feel like this guide really wants to hold space for the fact that you are still grieving loss and this experience of death, but reminding you that there is always something to be grateful for having known this person, to be grateful for yourself and what you bring to others at this point in time. I feel like there's something really big that you're going to do that's going to impact a lot of people or bring a lot of people a lot of comfort or feeling like they've been seen, they're understood. And I think that there's just so much that you have to offer to this world, and I think that this guide really wants to remind you that it shouldn't go to waste because you have a lot to give. Some of you may even make music, so otherwise I just want to offer you my gratitude for you being here and allowing me to be your reader. I want to thank your spirit guide for coming through and being so kind and open. I want to thank every other force in the universe that has brought us together for this reading. I am sending you so much love, Pile 3. I will see you in another video. All of my information is in the description below. Bye.